catch up with the Talking Junk Network. Make sure you tune in because Dre is on the hot seat tonight, going to be interviewed by Taulin. So come and find out every intimate detail about all our Talking Junk Network crew.
Talking Junk Network,
where entertainment lives.
Welcome to Talking Junk.
I'm your host, Jason Melendez.
Live now every week on Fridays.
Talking Junk.
A multitude of professionals in different aspects, different walks of life.
You have to come on and talk junk like a normal person.
Hey, welcome to Talking Junk. Tonight you're going to have me, the Danger Zone himself, Wolf, a.k.a. Taulin, along with one of our own, Andre, a.k.a. Dre. We're going to have a little one-on-one tonight. We're going to see how things are going on. Please forgive the fact that we're not on camera, but it's post-show today, and it's really just more of an audio experience as we're going to kind of just talk and see how things go and let the flow go and inform y'all. So how you doing, Dre?
I'm good, man. How about you?
Well, if you watched the previous show, obviously I had a little bit of a tangent that I needed to rattle in, but outside of that, I'm doing pretty good. Honestly, in terms of like work lately, I keep hitting my marks like daily almost, and it's been really good. And I've had an influence on my coworkers in a positive way, and hopefully it's going to be net me some growth here soon, such that I can start branching out a little bit more and doing my own thing. So I've been in a good space lately, honestly. How you been doing lately? How's the world and all this bullshit been affecting you?
I just take it one day at a time. I don't try to think too much about it, even though it is kind of crazy out here.
And where exactly is out here? You don't have to be pinpoint, but where are you residing right now?
Oh, I'm in Washington State.
Okay. How long you been out there?
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to let y'all know that the recording is a bust and you guys are live. So say hi to Facebook. No, not Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. See you guys later.
I did see that, but I didn't really think much of it.
Not me neither. What were you saying?
I was saying, how long you been out in Washington?
About 4 years now.
Okay. And how you like it? How is it? Is it rainy all the time? Is it as dreary as it seems? Or is it?
No, it has its moments. It's usually gray, but it doesn't rain that much. It just drizzles a lot.
So it is an overcast place. It's kind of like England in that regard.
Yeah, probably not as overcast.
Okay. Now, what brought you over to Washington? Did you move out of there out of a choice? Did you? What brought you to that particular dreary place in America?
My orders for the Navy. I didn't have a choice. I would have never chose this, but it's not bad up here. I can't complain about anything in Washington, really.
So you're living in Washington because that's where like your last set of orders were at, or
Yeah.
would you have likely have stayed or settled somewhat wherever they were, or no?
When I think about it, probably not. Like, I don't know if I wanted to stay in San Diego and live there. I probably wasn't going to do that.
Okay, down in Southern California. How long are you in the Navy for?
5 years.
5 years. Okay. So let's backtrack a little bit. You're living in Washington now. Where were you born? Where's your family from exactly? You from the same place, or were you born a little bit different from where most of your family's based?
Nah, most of my family's in Connecticut or New York.
Now, going back to the previous podcast, New York City.
New York City.
Okay. Word. All right. So
I was just thinking like, wait, don't you know that already? Oh, never mind. This is supposed to be an interview.
now, like, so like, did you grow up out there, or were you part of your family that was apart from New York but still had ties?
Wait, what do you mean? Would you say?
Like, so did your like your mom and dad, did they come out to Connecticut and you grew out here? And you just had family in New York, or were you born in New York and came out here, or came out to Connecticut? Excuse me.
I was born out there.
Okay. Now, where exactly were you from? Which borough?
No, I mean I was born in Connecticut.
Okay, out there. Okay, I should assume out there means Connecticut. Whereabouts? Waterbury.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, how long were you about there for? Like your entire childhood, or did you leave a bit, come back?
I was out there for my whole childhood and everything. I got out of Connecticut, joined in the Navy.
Okay. So, Waterbury was most of your experience growing up.
Uh, yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, I definitely traveled and been to other places, so it wasn't just a Waterbury thing.
Travel to like where your family was in New York, or were you able to travel to other states or countries?
Yeah, other states.
How far out?
I don't know. I've been to a lot of states. Mainly in the southeast.
Okay. What got you to all those states?
College tours.
So it wasn't until like you were growing up that you were seeing most of the other states.
I wouldn't say grown up, but like in high school and in those years.
Okay. So, but when you're like your childhood, you would describe as mostly Connecticut based.
Yeah, I get you. You can say that.
Okay. How was it like growing up for you? Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I got siblings. I got a pretty big family.
Really?
Well, I would say a pretty big family, but I definitely got siblings.
Okay. Like I'm not trying to put you on the spot for how big your family is, but more than two?
I got an older sister.
Okay. So two. No, that's cool. Is she cool? Are you guys close in age, or is she like significantly older?
She's 7 years older, so I would say significantly.
Okay. So y'all never went to school together or anything like that. She was more like a big.
No, I never thought about that, but yeah, we never went to school together.
Did she have like a legacy that she left behind that like when you got there be like, are you so and so's brother or anything like that, or was it too far?
Nah, you could definitely say that. Definitely had a legacy left behind.
Yeah, yeah. Was it one you had to live up to?
Uh, no, I because I really didn't care about life like that. I didn't look at it that way. Like that I was like, oh, that's cool. She's doing her own thing. I don't look at it like hey, I got my own legacy. I mean, I got my own things to accomplish, but she definitely has somewhat of a legacy.
Okay. Did you guys go to all the same schools?
Yeah, pretty much.
Or no? Well, that must have been pretty cool though to kind of have like somebody that was older than you kind of set foot for your family, and then there's enough time to where like it's not fresh in their minds, but it's like I know that name. Like, are you related to so and so? Like enough to where they have an idea about you, but not enough to where they have an expectation. I would think.
Yeah, that's. I feel like that's kind of a. It's a weird place to put yourself in.
Because I know you were saying like you didn't really care in that regard. Was that actively because you knew it was there, or just because that's just how your approach to life has always been, to where you didn't really give much thought to other people's aspirations on you?
Yeah, I never viewed it that way. I didn't care. I didn't look at it like that in life.
How did you see things?
I mean, I'm my own person. She's her own person.
What made you come around to that type of thinking? Was it just kind of natural to you, or was there somebody significant that kind of helped you see that and like tell you to make sure that you were being yourself and just being true to that fact?
I'd say it's natural. Like I don't look at anybody else's life and just be like, oh, I gotta live like that person or live up to this person's expectations.
So there's not like are there any people while you're growing up you can think of that were like significant mentors for you that kind of help spurn or support that natural thought that you had?
I wouldn't say any person spurned the thought. I don't know. But I think it might be a natural. I don't know my natural approach. But I definitely had people who have helped me in life that I look up to. So maybe, but
Like
I couldn't pinpoint it and say one person shaped the way I think about certain things in life.
there wasn't like a singular like coach or mentor or figure, whoever it was, that just kind of helped foster you in any type of way, or was it just kind of you were just understanding things and applied it going forward wherever you went?
I think it was just me understanding things.
Okay. So you always kind of felt like you understood your direction in life even from like a young age?
No, I wouldn't say that. That's understanding your direction in life. Definitely it takes some time.
But like did you kind of feel like, and at least in terms of the decisions you made, you were a little bit more confident in what you did. You weren't unsure necessarily. You felt like, well, this is the direction I want to go, as opposed to I don't want to go there. Because it seems like if you just kind of naturally have the understanding and desire to forge your own way, regardless of whatever influence you may have had, it would kind of make sense possibly to be that way.
I don't know. I never thought about it necessarily. Like I mean, the people who you look up to in life, they definitely influence you and make you want to do things and think about things. But I don't. I never just had that uh approach to.
And so when you say you've never had that approach, do you mean in the sense like you've never had the approach of you seek somebody else for information, rather you just sort of work with those around you to gain more information?
No, I definitely seek people for information, but it's people that you already know, or it's people that you already trust that have good information.
Okay. Okay. So you said you were growing up in Waterbury and whatnot. Were you involved in any particular programs? Did you have any group of friends that you hung out with? What's like the most significant kind of childhood period that you could think of for yourself?
Damn, what shit? That's tough. I remember lots of things about my childhood, like growing up and going to my grandmother's house a lot, spending time with my cousins. Uh,
Well,
playing
for
sports.
example, like I when I was homeschooled, there was a family that we used to homeschool with all the time, and we would make a point to like get our stuff done because then we could go outside. And they were a family of four boys, and then it was me and sometimes my sister. So there was at least five. And then there was the neighborhood kids. There would be like maybe 10 to 12 of us, and we would just make the neighborhood like our playground, except for like, you don't go to that house because such and such is like this, or they're a witch or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, was there any type of
Nah,
things that stood out like that for you?
the whole having neighbors that's a witch thing is kind of crazy. That wasn't a thing.
Well, to be honest, it was they're a pedophile. There was a there was a
Yeah, that's a thing too. But
yeah,
nah,
there was a house with a camera on it. We're like, that's the pedophile house. Don't go over there.
Wait, hold on. You got to explain that. That's so the dude had a camera on his house because he's a registered sex offender.
No, I can't confirm that. What as children and being told down from the big kids, what was is that and there was a camera pointing out right on the porch. You could see it from the sidewalk, and it was just like, yeah, that's I don't remember his name, but it was like, yeah, that house has like a pedophile, like he touched it, he tries to fuck with kids or whatever, and that's why they have a camera there. And I don't know if that's ever true because there was also an adult that told us just to fuck with us on a hike one time that wild turkeys are like voracious and will like kill you and shit. So I have no idea if that man was a pedophile or if he just didn't want people on his property and had the money to buy a security camera, you know?
Yeah, that's heavy. Nah, my childhood was definitely not on some shit like that.
I mean, like, it wasn't like that was the mainstay. That was just, the lore that was being told about the neighborhood as we walked to the park to go do whatever we were doing, you know? We've
Nah,
actually played airsoft a lot.
nah, I understand that. Like just the kids hanging out in the neighborhood, having fun type shit. I never had that. I never even thought about nothing like that. Like I don't know if my neighbors were on stuff like that. That's a crazy story though.
Yeah, it talking about it kind of makes me think of like Hey Arnold, how they would have just all these different stories passed down and like this lore, these legends for kids and shit like that. And there was kind of stuff like that happened and stuff like that growing up with me. Like it was an interesting experience because like being homeschooled, there's school kids and shit like that. But this ain't about me. This is about you. I ain't trying to get off no topic here.
Right.
Um, so kind of going back a little bit to what I was asking, is there any like significant like period you remember when you're growing up, or like just an event where like that was like the epitome of childhood to me, like pre middle school or like pre kind of hormones giving a fuck kind of era? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I guess I'd say probably growing up playing sports is like was a mainstay of life. But
What sports did you play?
I don't know. Name it. I probably played it at one point in my life as a
Rugby, lacrosse.
um. I have never played for a rugby team or cross team, which is such a Connecticut thing, but definitely not a Waterbury thing.
It definitely is mad Connecticut. Um, so but like baseball, basketball, soccer.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What's up, Test? I don't know if you're a ghost or if that's Jason, but welcome to the show.
What?
Please remain muted. um,
That was probably Jay.
but okay, so like how young did you start playing sports like in terms of a team group? Was it like young? Was it bred into you? Like is your family heavy into sports?
I would say yeah, some family members are, but I've been playing on some team since forever. Probably since I don't know, 7 years old, 6 years old.
Is it kind of like the well, perhaps not, but was it maybe any type of energy where Bill Cosby himself, where he's talking about his father training his son to become like a football star, and then he thanks his mom at the end of the day?
What the fuck?
I mean, like, was there anybody who was like, "All right, I see that you're athletic, so like, let me foster that," and like, kind of was just like, "All right, let's play this. Let me help train you," or was it just sort of you train when you're doing your activity type of thing?
uh, I see what you're saying now, and I feel like um, it was a bit of both. Like I had my older cousins who played sports, and my sister played sports, so like they took it seriously. But I never had no, I guess, training as a kid. It was. I didn't look at it like that. When you're just playing basketball every day, it's just you're just doing this for fun.
Okay, it was just something you enjoyed. It wasn't ever something you thought you might pursue. It's just something that you enjoyed and you weren't bad at, kind of a thing.
Yeah, like it was just fun. It was just a game. And as you get older, you take it a little more seriously. But it changes, or the way you view it changes.
Okay. You ever meet people of significance on those teams?
What do you mean? Like,
Like people that either for a short period or even till now are like lifelong individuals that have had an impact on your life. Like there's friends of mine that I can think of from my childhood that matter, but I haven't spoken to them and I don't like think of them as a friend currently, but at the time like their friendship was significant to mine, like to my experience in life.
oh yeah, I don't know any of them people. I couldn't tell you.
But there were at least a few. Like you definitely like your childhood friends and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, of course the childhood friends, but I don't know what those people are doing in life, or shit. I don't even know if they're alive. Who knows?
Okay, no doubt. So let's say skipping up to high school. Um, when you got to high school and whatnot, like did you transfer over to Wilby? Did you just come up from fuck, I want that. Damn, that's Danbury Middle School.
North.
Fuck was that? What middle school did you come from?
It's North End.
Yeah, there you go. I wanted to say Broadview. That's a fucking
The fuck is
lot.
that?
That's a Danbury High School. My mom used to drive buses, and that was one of the schools we drove. Um, Mad random, but okay. So you kind of did that whole like Bunkers Hill transition thing.
Nah, I didn't go to Bunker Hill. I don't. Shit, I'm trying to remember. I didn't go to Bunker Hill though. I know that. But um, nah, I don't even remember doing the transition from like North End to Wilby. I don't,
No.
life was like a blur really until, like you said, high school. Like I don't really remember. I remember certain things about middle school in those years, but not really. Especially
Okay.
when it comes to actual school. No, I don't remember
Okay.
that much.
All right, so it wasn't like you didn't have any jarring moments of like switching one school area and friends to another school area and friends. It was just kind of like experience, and then life started happening in high school.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was I like once you got to high school and life started happening? Like when you like how did that affect with your worldview of just kind of handling things as you said you were to where you kind of just forge your own way? Was it weird for you? Like did you just acclimate well or like where were you at? Were you an incel? Were you a flower?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say I was an incel for sure. I would just say people suck, and the people who sucked in high school, you don't really think about it too much now. Obviously, at least I hope you don't. But it was a big deal to most of us. Like high school is a very important part of your life, especially as you grow up and become an adult.
Very true.
It's like one of the first real, you know, important parts of life. Even though it sounds so stupid, because it's like it's just fucking high school. High school
It is,
a
but
lot to people.
like you're saying, like it's during a key development period for teens
Every
and like for people and so much is being introduced and happening it's probably more important than other aspects because it'll really set off how college will start for a lot of people.
Oh no, I agree. It's probably more important than college for your development and the way you view life and everything.
hmm I imagine that people that like if you go back to those who have certain viewpoints in college, whether they're radical or conservative or something like that, if you go back to their high school experience, you could probably make guesses onto what type of experience that is based off of the viewpoints they have in college. Not at the end necessarily, but at the beginning. You can kind of figure out what type of experience they probably had and whether it was one of struggle or one where they were relatively dominant in their social structure.
Yeah, most people wear that shit for the rest of their life, which is sad that it means that much to people, but it's definitely a major part of your life.
So how were you in high school? Were you dominant in the social structure? Were you just kind of like doing like I mean, I know you're saying like you make your own way, but like where did you really fit at the end of the day? Were you known by a lot of people? Were you a smart kid? Were you like what did you do?
I minded my business. That's what I did in high school. I would say I was. I mean, I was known, but I wouldn't. I don't really think about it as like, oh yeah, I was popular and dumb shit like that. That shit is stupid. But that's how people are.
I mean, popular is just being known by enough people to where if your name is mentioned, people would be like this person. Like popular doesn't necessarily mean famous because I feel like popular equates to famous in high school a lot, but it can also just mean that people know who you are in different circles that don't associate with each other.
Yeah, but see, I wouldn't say I associate with a decent amount of people, but I minded my business for the most part. You know, I didn't get caught up in anything. I just took care of school and football, and that was it. That's all I cared about, like a fucking idiot.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Like caring about football.
Well, the fucking idiot part. Unless that was tied directly about football and that's what you meant.
Yeah, I mean,
Because I mean, like caring about football isn't necessarily dumb. Because I mean, if you care about
I
something
call
at
that.
some point genuinely, it's because you have a belief about yourself. And having a belief about yourself is only a fault in so much as you don't realize that it's not something you should continue to pursue. But if you've never pursued it, you may not ever know. So not necessarily thinking, especially in high school, to pursue it and like take it seriously is a bad thing, especially since it's athletic. At least I gain, that aspect of it as a person.
No, that's true. I definitely appreciate it. So, you know, you learn things. I don't really regret anything. So I don't regret playing football or anything like that. It was like, damn, I probably could have did something better with that time, or played, or boxed, or did something more important.
To what end?
But what do you mean to what end?
Well, I mean, like, so seeing as you are where you're at and you ended up like playing football, what would have doing something have done possibly better for you? Because if you say I could have done something better, then that would suggest that perhaps there would have been a better end to the means.
That end to the means part messed me up. I don't know what you mean by that. But
So, like, the end to the means of you having played football thus far is you being where you are now. Do you believe that if perhaps you did something more constructive other than football, that perhaps where you are now would be different? Or would you have, say, still went to the Navy?
it's possible. I feel like my mentality would have been different, right? The way you think about uh playing sports and at a certain level, you probably think about it differently if you played a different sport. Like I think about playing team sports as a waste of time now because you have to rely on other people, and I hate having to rely on other people because other people aren't reliable.
Isn't that part of the beauty and when you can though? Isn't that like kind of the whole reason why on some end you would seek to find that? Because if you can find that golden team, you know that it's such a rarity that if you're even just a part of that golden team, let alone a leader or anything like that, or somebody of significance, if you're a part of that golden team, that's of such significance that it's to be noted. Kind of like what was it? I forgot what year it was, but that Patriots team that should have been fucking that fucked up their perfect season. Granted, it was a perfect season until the playoffs. I forgot what year that was.
2007. That was when we were in high school for that. Good times.
Yeah, that's when the Pats were on their shit. So speaking of Pats and you haven't played sports and everything like that, did your love of watching sports exist as early as your love of playing sports, or did one blossom from the other?
Uh, Definitely playing first, but for as long as I've been watching basketball, for example, I don't watch it like other people do. And it's weird to say that because when I talk to other people, it's like, oh, you're clearly not watching the game. Like I'm watching basketball and I'm studying basketball when I really watch it. I watch it for entertainment, but really I don't even care about that anymore. Because there's people who just want to watch basketball and it's fun and it's exciting. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But I'm actually watching and I'm trying to figure out things. And
Really?
real basketball fans and purists they'll probably say that they do the same thing. But it's different for the people who play the sport and then you watch it. It's not. It's obviously a different concept in our heads.
So, so is it something that is kind of more of an analyzation of stats, or is it more of an understanding and appreciation of the game as a whole, such that you see it for an art and critique it as such?
Yeah, I don't really look at it for the stats. It's more or less, like you said, it is an art. It's definitely some kind of art form when you think about what people are doing. But I don't know. I don't think about. I think about it deeply, but at the same time, I don't think about it the way you presented it.
So then, like, the last game you saw, describe to me how you saw it. Disregard my understanding of basketball. Tell us how you see the last game that you saw. Give us a description. It doesn't have to be super detailed, but give us like an idea of how you watched it and how you saw it.
From a coach's perspective and a
From
right and a wrong
from
thing.
from just your perspective.
Yeah, from the way a coach would look at it, or
Okay.
the way I would say even more simple that there's a right and a wrong way to do things,
Okay.
which really isn't true because whatever works is what's most important.
Okay. So you're kind of looking at the technical aspect of what brought you to the goal.
Yeah, and the little details.
Okay, so at least in the sense of basketball, for you, watching the game is about not necessarily who is doing the best and like having the most entertainment or whatever it is. It's who is actually taking the game of basketball as it's laid out to be played and doing that the best and succeeding.
Yeah,
Such that if they're succeeding, that doesn't necessarily mean that those around them are succeeding, which then goes back to your idea of why you hate how like group sports, because one can be held back from doing something technically perfect, perhaps, but it's drawn back from the fact that the rest of them can't even get it done, basically.
yeah, that's a good way to put it because my thing is you have to rely on other people so much. So for me personally, I look at it that way. As I wish I didn't think about sports that way. But for like other people who's like, oh, I'm playing basketball and I'm really good at it. But your teammates are always going to let you down one way or another. Like nobody's perfect. Well, some teammates are much better than others. And it's not even about their play, it's about their approach and if they want to become better.
Okay.
Just
I
get
mean,
better. You know?
it makes sense. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think, however, what you're saying is almost necessary for there to even be competition in the sport. Because if there was like a specific method to where if anybody followed a specific regiment, they could master playing basketball, it wouldn't be as entertaining. And it would be probably less impressive for somebody to really just hold things down that you're appreciating, because it would just be a standard of like, well, how do you not know how to do a jumper? You should know that this is the exact way if they do this, this is the exact way if they do that. How do you not know these things to like combat that? But when you have the relative variance of like, well, this is how you play the game. You got to get the ball in the hoop, and this is how the points are. You keep it very, very basic. It opens up the field to allow enough people to where those who can technically do it can theoretically shine. And I think it's the fact that sports and entertainment in general is just corrupted in a certain regard that that fact doesn't really hold out the way that it should, because it does. We definitely know greats, but at the same time, there are greats that get absolutely no limelight.
That's natural progression part of the game. But I also feel like because the game's more popular today, people are gonna get forgotten because people aren't really purists.
This is true. I feel like in general, people aren't really fans of things. They're fans of what's popular.
They're fans of other people.
Yes, they're fans of other people and what they find popular. And people don't necessarily have opinions. They have thoughts that they heard about things that they've never thought about before, and it's easier to regurgitate that thought than it is to think their own thought about it, because since they don't know anything about it, they'd have to go and find out. So in that regard, to not detract too much, I appreciate that you kind of look at the skillful aspect of basketball and can appreciate it on that level. Does it kind of ruin your ability to talk to other people in general about
Yeah,
basketball or
of course.
sports?
Most people are fucking idiots when it comes to evaluating really anything. But sports is one of those things where people just are biased because of where they're from or what they like or what player they like. So talking basketball is something I really hate to do, but at the same time, I'd like to do it. But there's certain people who it's like, yeah, I know not to talk basketball with you ever again because you're an idiot.
So it's kind of just like a it in a sense, because I have to ask here, do you ever think of yourself as gatekeeping by doing so, or do you just see yourself as another level of a fan as opposed to the general fans that are out there who are just really consuming as fans as opposed to as enjoying as like learned fans?
Nah, because you can't gatekeep something like basketball, right? It's too popular, and I get it where a lot of people are going to like uh, a certain player because they're kids, and the kids look at basketball a certain way, and like every kid's favorite player is Steph Curry for whatever reason. All the kids love Steph Curry. I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. I like Steph too, but you got to let things develop and progress naturally. So everybody's gonna have a different opinion. So I wouldn't try to change people's or keep people's opinions from being different. But when you talk to certain people, it's just weird.
Okay. Okay. So this is kind of gonna double back, but kind of a similar vein of questions. When and what was your first memory of significant music in your life?
Significant music. Oh shit.
Yeah, like what's the first thing that you can think of that you can be like, that was my fucking jam?
I can't think of one like particular song, but I do remember my oldest cousin is the person that really plays music for me, and him and his father will collect music, so that's really where I get the love of listening to music from.
Okay.
So I can't pinpoint it at a certain time or a certain artist or anything.
What
Let's say,
era then
if I
would you
could, if I go to one particular artist or something, I'd probably say it'd be Doggy Style.
Okay. Snoop
Well,
Dogg. All
Snoop Dogg
right.
and Doggy Style album.
Okay. That that's quite a significant one to call out, is like just being the first significant like interest. So like, was the music they were introducing you to varied in terms of what it was, or was it kind of a specific vein of particular music?
Mainly hip hop.
Okay. Like a story kind of introduction, or just what was popular at the time, and also stuff that they would just kind of like throw back to, and you'd be like, okay, and that just kind of help like kind of build the whole framework for you. Because when we were growing up, is the best time to have that happen because there wasn't a huge history at that time. Now, you Gen Zers, man, you got a lot of shit that you need to. I have shit to look up to because but goddamn, y'all got a lot.
Nah, they definitely do. But I feel like it's just they're just lazy. They don't want to listen or learn more music than what they've already heard or what gets pushed on them as kids.
Yeah. If I listen to what, not to talk bad, because I still listen to some of the stuff that I listened to as a kid because I liked it. I feel like because of my father and my mother, I had a good understanding of two types of music and I had a good appreciation of it. But if I stayed in that same vein, not only would my music tastes be very limited, but my general understanding of people, life, and experience would be very limited as well. And in that same vein, hip hop being your main introduction, was there a point where anybody started to introduce different types of genres of music, or did you just start to grow your own affinity of a love of music and check things out yourself?
I would check things out myself. So because I don't want other people to tell me what's good and what should be, respected, I listen to it from my develop my own opinion.
So you would try to kind of like avoid what was the popular recommendation, and even though make yourself aware of it, you would try and just see, well, what is people not talking about, type of a thing.
Yeah, like people talk about the Beatles being so great and everything like that.
Mm,
I like, all right, cool. Maybe the Beatles are good. Maybe they're not. I gotta listen to them for myself to figure that out. Because if you listen to everybody else's narrative, you would think they're the greatest thing that ever happened to music. But depending who you talk to, you get a different conversation about them.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Was there thinking back to that video on TikTok I sent you video recently? Um, was there a period that you were looking into rock and roll or metal or things like that? Things that were not popularly known to be of black culture?
Uh, Not really. There's certain rock and roll and I would well not rock and roll, but like metal and things like that I'd listen to. But I never thought about it as is this part of black culture or not. Obviously, there's certain things you would just be like, all right, yeah, that's clearly not part of black culture. And I feel like maybe it's not because it's just something. It just doesn't work when we listen to it.
That that's kind of always been my thought that, like, generally speaking, a lot of metal cannot be melodic, and black folk are about a melody and a vibe, and that's not going to really pick up. But when it's there, I find that black folk will just usually do perfectly fucking fine. That's why, like, there have been and there still are black folk in metal. Kill Switch Engage, popular group, black lead singer. Um, but it's not something because, like, when I was growing up in high school, it was I knew better than to ask my black friends, like, "Hey, you ever heard this metal album?" I was like, I know they didn't hear that shit. I would ask folk about, like, other about hip hop and, like, things adjacent to it, things I knew were in black culture, jazz, or maybe not really jazz, but like certain jazz, and then like Earth, Wind, and Fire types stuff, R&B. But I would never ask anybody, like, did you hear Misery Signals? Did you hear fucking Disturbed? No. I asked Stacks about Disturbed. You know what I mean?
Shout out to Stacks. I remember Stacks.
Yeah, Stacks. Yo, Stacks. I don't know if you ever checked the podcast, but I know you'd be on Discord. I'll be doing well, my guy. Haven't talked to you in a bit. I'll have to hit you up. But that's always been something like that made me feel like I was part of the black community, but definitely different because I didn't like all of metal, but there were certain things I enjoyed. I enjoyed the melodies of certain beats, the certain evocations of emotion, because when I would listen to like a hard type of hip hop song or rap song, I would get the same type of vibe, but it was just from different production and things like that. Um, what the fuck is that mic? Uh, I'm just curious, like, is that your main thing that you listen to is hip hop, or do you have like a couple things that you go to? Do you listen to techno, house? Do you listen to classical? Do you have kind of like your own kind of atmospheric vein of music you listen to, like Massive Attack or something like that?
So I listen to a little bit of everything, but for the most part, I listen to hip hop. Like some days I'll say I don't feel like listening to any rap music like at all. I don't want to listen to any rappers and the bullshit that rappers bring. So I'll listen to some jazz. And jazz is really good music when you're driving. It's relaxing. I definitely will play some jazz. Like, oh, yeah, that it's
What kind of jazz you listen to?
not some slow jazz, but I'm not mad at listening to some older, like some swing music. Like that's fun, but I'm not gonna say I'm a big fan or anything like that.
Kind of like when you say swing, kind of like the stuff in The Mask.
Yeah,
Word, I feel you on that. Like you can't deny the vibe that's in that song, but it's also not something I could find myself just blasting regularly.
no, that's weird. I don't know. I feel like listening to jazz is it's it's got a time and a place, like really all music does.
Are you a fan of Miles Davis?
Yeah, all the old jazz legends. When I'm driving, I like to listen to that.
There's a there's an album by Miles Davis that he did the soundtrack for a movie. It was a French film called like Le Cantique de Infantil or something like that, like the Stairway to Heaven, I think, or something like that. And it's like a noir film, a detective noir film, and some of my favorite jazz songs come from that. Uh, and I have never found it like anywhere for me to like own, but I there's a certain vibe that jazz can evoke, such that I think it's because it's kind of freeform to where you get a lot more emotion from the person that's playing it than you might in something to where someone is creating a song that is, relatively speaking, rehearsed versus something that is felt and expressed through talent alone.
Yeah, no, music that doesn't have any words has a different feeling to it. There's a different emotion being expressed or trying to be expressed when it's like, yeah, there's no words to say how somebody feels when they're playing the piano. So you got to feel it yourself.
Exactly. Do you find that it's two different types of music, that which is that doesn't have lyrics and that which does? Like, is there a difference between a song that has its lyrics on it and one that's just like an a cappella track or whatever? You know what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely. There's definitely a difference, and they're both necessary. But there's definitely a difference in like listening to music that has no words, so it's got a feeling attached to it.
Do you think one is missing out on the experience of music and or life if they deprive themselves of one or the other?
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair thing to say because instrumentation and the production is very important to all music. So if you're listening to music and you don't have a, 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 a a grasp or a feel for the harmony and the sounds, you're definitely missing out.
Okay. Have you ever listened to what we consider like atmospheric bands like Pink Floyd or Dream Theater, Tool, I think Fish or something? I don't know.
Yeah,
Like those like that.
I've listened to Tool and Pink Floyd and all that before.
What were your thoughts on them coming from a background of like hip hop initially and then coming to something like that, which is abjectly different?
Uh, Spacey. Like you could listen to Grateful Dead and see why people did drugs to listen into that music.
That's fair. Now, when you listen to music like that, did it evoke different feelings in you that you didn't feel when listening to just hip hop or other genres? Like, did you find that different types of music allowed you to feel music in a different way, or does music not affect you and more so you utilize the music?
I feel like you listening to music, and when the music doesn't have words or it doesn't have a different sound, it definitely brings a different feeling. But it's like the feeling that hip hop gives you is supposed to be a little bit different than the feeling that jazz gives you. And sometimes it overlaps because hip hop is basically, the child of all other genres of music.
It is like a mashup of a lot of different things. It does the best at taking what's popular wherever it's coming out of,
Stealing,
and
stealing. Just call it what it is.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's it's quite interesting because in the 90s when we were growing up, in the early 2000s, like not very long, but it was hip hop, and then there's still hip hop, but there's clearly hip hop that has become more and more clear, but it's not like a separate acknowledged genre in the open. Like people won't say like, yeah, I listen to hip hop. Nobody's gonna say that. But that's what popular hip hop songs are. Most of Drake's hits are hip hop. It's popular hip hop. It's based in hip hop, but it's also engineered to be a popular song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you feel like the fact that because if when I was young, I remember listening to the radio like Kiss 95.7 and shit, and there was a specific type of regularity of the types of songs you'd hear. You'd hear more Britney Spears, 98 Degrees, In Syncs, and shit like that than you would a popular rap group. You would hear them, but you wouldn't hear them all the time. Like you would hear Biggie, you would hear like Pun, but not that often. But they would play them. What do you think like helped shift that? And do you think that shift to where now hip hop is the focus has ruined the quality since you've been like a long time uh learner of the craft itself and just a listener? Do you think it's changed anything? Or is that just kind of a made up perception?
I'd say it's definitely changed, and it's kind of like hip hop got more popular when we usually say around the time Eminem got into hip hop, that's when hip hop's popularity reached its highest.
Okay.
Eminem changed,
Even though like Tupac and Biggie had happened?
not as popular, and
Really?
as far as popular as Tupac was, because Tupac was very popular, he would never have the same mainstream appeal as an Eminem would. Like
That's
so
true.
and hip hop records and hip hop artists really weren't that popular in selling the numbers that they sold like Tupac did, and but that's the one exception. You got a lot of rappers who became megastars and household names mainly due to the fact that when he took off, there's other rappers that also sold a lot of albums, and they took off too. But it was sort of like it's like the Tiger Woods effect.
Okay.
Like the
All
best
right.
that ever happened to golf was Tiger Woods, so everybody in golf can make money.
This is true. Once I don't remember golf growing up. Like I knew about it, but like as a mini putt thing, like I didn't know it was a professional sport. And then I remember seeing like Tiger Woods like games and hearing about him and being like, "Oh, he's a professional golfer." Like it meant something. I didn't know anybody else's name.
Yeah, I don't want people to hear this and think I'm trying to give like Eminem all this extra credit for being a rapper or anything like that. But Eminem's popularity made it where, oh shit, other people like all of America is gonna relate to Eminem. It's just gonna be black people relating to Jay-Z. Even when he was popular, like the late '90s, it's like, hey, yeah, you're popular, you're nigga famous, right? You're famous to black people. Like Chris Rock was telling this to Kevin Hart one day. He was like, "You're just famous to black people. I'm famous to white people now. Like you're not at that level of fame yet." Kevin Hart is at that level now, but when he said, like, yeah, you famous in the hood and to black people. You're not famous to white people yet.
Yeah, it is a different thing. It, speaking of being a different thing of all that, when was it? Was it in high school that you could say that you took a red pill of life?
No, definitely not.
Where so before we get to the point that you took a red pill, what was your viewpoint and approach to life up until that point?
So I would say most of us are we're most everybody's blue pill because that's how society has it shaped for you to be. But I always thought a little bit differently than most people around me. So I definitely didn't look at it as the same way most people did. But you're still blue pilled until you really, really understand. Like there's a difference.
So give me a short example of like a blue pill example.
Shit, the way we think about everything. Well, it's hard to go with one particular thing. Like I guess people use it a lot for dating, and that's the main conversation. But it's way there's way more to it than just that. But I was definitely not red pilled in high school
Okay.
or even
Okay.
in college. I wouldn't say that yet.
No?
Nah.
So in regards to just anybody listening, in red pill here, I'm referring to life in general, not red pill in the popular sense of men and women. That's a different pill that I'm not talking about. I'm talking about your general awareness to the fact that there's clearly something else going on than what was intended for you to believe. So when exactly did that come about for you?
I'd say um probably in the Navy,
Really?
but I'd say closer to getting out, right? So I guess you could say I was pretty blue pilled for the majority of my life, like most men are. But I'd say before 30, I got it.
So was it the fact that you were blue pilled uh help lend you to going into the Navy in the first place?
No, I don't. That really wasn't a part of it. I feel like it was just sort of like a necessity, or it felt like it was a necessity.
Okay. So going back a little bit there, where did you end up going to school for college?
You said when?
Where?
Went to UConn.
Stores or did you go to like Avery Point?
forgot Avery Point was even a thing, but
Yeah.
I went to stores.
You went to the big honcho campus, and you were there when it was fun, correct?
Yeah, it's probably still fun now. Those kids probably still having fun up there.
I mean, it may have changed, but I heard that it definitely got died down in terms of the ruckus that was going on for some of them parties. Not
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably not a bad thing having gone to a couple of them. A great time though, but I also don't know what terrible things may have happened. I just know it was a fun time in my experience. Never, there's few times you can see your friend who is drunk walking with a state trooper, and the state trooper just being like, as long as they don't fucking do nothing, like it's fine. It is funny. But okay, so you went to stores. What'd you go for? Were you trying to be a physicist?
Yeah, I was kind of.
Really?
I
I
mean,
thought you were doing like social sciences.
well, no, I wanted to major in kinesiology,
Oh, okay.
but I really don't care about school like that. Like, I really never liked school, but it was easy. And once I realized how much effort things will take, like becoming a doctor or getting that level of degree, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Like, it's like I could go to law school, but do I really want to do that? Nah, I don't care about it that much. I don't have the passion.
You more so have like a general interest in the knowledge, but not such that you'd want to put another extra time to get it. Not that it's not worth it, but it's just like, I don't love it, kind of a thing.
Yep, that's the best way to look at it. Like, I care, but not that much. Like you said, a
Okay.
general interest, not to major in it or study in it or study it. Like, I think a lot of people have major interests in things, but they don't really care about it that much to say, I'm going to dedicate years of my life and study this and become better at it.
So what made what made you switch over to social sciences? What was like, all right, I guess I'll go over there.
Miss Frennis. Do you remember Miss
Really?
Philby?
I remember Miss Frennis. I never had her, but I had spoken with her because she was friends with English teachers and stuff, and she was always cool. Shout out to Miss Frennis.
Yeah, I'd say her class was the reason why I had a sociology.
Okay. Was there like a specific vein, like where you were like, all right, I'll do sociology and I'll do this in life, or where you're just like, well, I kind of have an interest in sociology and I'll figure that out afterwards?
I didn't think that far ahead.
So it
Like,
was just having an interest in sociology.
yeah, like, it's so crazy, especially now when I think about school and education, how we tell kids at 18 they need to make these decisions that are going to affect them for the rest of their life. And nobody really knows what they want to do for the rest of their life at 18. The majority of people don't.
Hell no.
And you want to learn other things and get to, a different level of education. So, but we put all this pressure on kids and we tell them, hey, you better get a college degree. And if you don't, you're a failure. And if you don't do this, if you don't do that, and it's just, the propaganda, how it works.
To be honest, college as a concept would work way better for those like 28 and above.
Ah, you learn too
Maybe,
much.
maybe even like 25, unless you knew what the fuck you wanted to do, because then you'd have people who have lived enough life to see if they are losers or if no, they want more, but they've lived enough to where they're not completely immature. So they'll still get that social interaction stuff, but they're also kind of like, nah, I really do want to get this shit done. I'm fucking paying for it. I have dental insurance. You know what I mean? Once you get good dental insurance, life is a little different. You know what I mean? Like it's yours. It's different than it's like I'm on somebody's insurance. When you got your own shit, it's like okay. And I feel like that would kind of change because then you could still get a life that 30-year-olds kind of want, but don't want that heavy without having to feel weird about being like, yeah, no, I'd like to just live on a campus of people my age that are still kind of figuring it out, but think they have a lane figured out. You know what I mean? Instead of being around people that's just like, well, they're fucking figured out and they're getting married and they're doing this and I don't know why I'm doing this kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Whereas when you're 18, it's like, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? No wonder people don't know what a woman is, you know?
And see, that's the reason why it's not gonna happen is because by the time you get to 28 years old, you have realized so much of what you were taught in this life is bullshit, especially when you think about education in school. So most people are not even going to bother going to college. That's why they get you at a young age, and they put pressure on you to make you feel like, oh, I got to get a degree. I have to do this. I have to do that. And it's not. It's
This
not a
is
bad
true.
thing. And it's much better if we have a college educated society. That's a good thing for humanity. But
I
the way
agree.
we got it set up now, it's not really beneficial for you to put your money into it's barely an investment.
Yeah, that's very true. It's, it's unfortunate that, like, I've always wished that I could just be in college, like, perpetually, because I don't want to major anything. I would like to learn these things. Like, why can't I just be in college? I don't understand why you can't. So you want to learn? Okay, so like this is what it costs to learn. Instead, it's all right. Here's your tuition, and like you do this. Like I can't just decide at 35 to go be on campus somewhere because that's literally fucking weird. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't do that. That's there's not gonna be anybody remotely around my age that's not a professor. You
Nah,
wouldn't want to do that shit.
nah, that's not true. There's other grad students. You're not going to be alone.
No, but like the general populace is not likely going to be as relatable as like just think of us to those who are 21 or like 18 or like even kind of a little bit older than that. There's a little bit of a difference, you know? And it's only getting bigger with less years because of the rapid changes that happen in society.
No, that's definitely true. I could a college campus today, being a college student today, but at the same time, I'm not against doing it.
Like I would love to be able to just sign up for a college and live on campus and go to classes and stuff like that. If being at my age, I would probably be annoyed being around a fair amount of people there. I wouldn't. I I just couldn't. When I was in college, if it was the same as when I was in college then, now I probably could like tolerate it and at least like go on to campus to classes because I like to learn shit. As I was saying before, like we should nourish in this country wanting to learn better than we do. It should like it's free. And it's like yeah, but not free such that if you finish the courses, anybody gives a fuck who matters. You know, if you went and finished all the courses on MIT's freeware, nobody's gonna give you a job because of that.
You said nobody would give you a job after that.
Yeah, like it'd be like, oh, that's impressive, but like, what does that mean? Like, nobody graded your shit. You just said that you finished all of the courses on MIT's free courses. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean the same as it could or should, because proof of concept doesn't mean anything.
I think MIT would be impressed if you did that.
I mean, it would be great for a meme, and then if you could like, it's kind of funny now because I say that, but thinking about it, if you can do that and just get viral, somebody will give you a chance on a job.
Yeah, it's a whole different society now. The internet definitely changed that. That's definitely a major part of all our lives.
You remember when it wasn't?
Yeah, I do. I always, we're the last generation that could really say we had both experiences. Like we're never gonna have a generation of kids that just went outside all the time for fun and they didn't have a phone or a video game or something like that. Like that's not a thing anymore. When you see kids get tablets and cell phones at 10 years old, like I couldn't even imagine that.
It's really kind of crazy because like eh, it's hard for us to imagine kids having tablets, and I know of babies, like kids under 2 years old, that know to skip ads or like they understand controls of tablets and phones and stuff like that. Whereas when we were that young, it wasn't. The TV was if it was on, and then after that we went outside.
Yeah,
Like, but it's
so
unfathomable now that they would go outside.
now kids still you still see kids outside sometimes, and especially during the summertime and all of that.
Yeah, but
The
not
main
without some like they have a means of contact. The idea of just going out like we did, where it's just like, "Mom, I'm going over here," and they that's where you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like there is just this unwritten agreement of like, you better be where the fuck you said you were, as opposed to I have a cell phone, I'm going out. You know, if they do that, I feel like a lot of people don't let their kids out like that.
they say every generation ages faster or develops faster, and I definitely see that now. But the
In
way
what regard?
well, the way these kids learn things and what they're exposed to when they're growing up in life, like the things that have become normal and the things that become commonplace, like that's it's certain things you would never think of as an adult, but it's the way that they're gonna look at life.
I I often think about the fact that it seems like as much as they're learning quicker, they're also not being taught the same way we were. I feel like we were taught in a way to where we were learning about the world and things that were growing, such that at a young age, we were able to, some of us, educate our parents in regards to how technology worked, but we still had an understanding of how life worked without technology and things and certain life lessons. Whereas now, there's a lot of folks that have been bred more so by technology than they have actual parenting. And it's somewhat showing.
You got a generation of kids being raised by television, which was kind of it's that was in our age group as well. It wasn't. It's not just the newer generation or the younger kids, but I feel like it's been normalized now. Like it's socially acceptable for a parent to just say, "Here, take this phone," and the kids. That's how kids learn everything.
It's almost like our generation was an attempt at proof of concept. You know, like, oh, does television really work? And like, I don't know about you, but I think about the fact. Like, I know that television and different things are used to program and make people think certain things and influence how you react and whatnot. But at least now, I can't think of the like me liking or doing something because of a show. Like me feeling some type of way and be like, no, I think this because this show told me that. I had a clear understanding of like I was watching a fucking fake thing. Like this is not real. If it's on television, if it's not the news at the time, it's not fucking real. Like this is just a made up thing and an idea. I shouldn't base how I live life off of it. But I feel like nowadays everybody's fucking doing that.
Yeah, you had parents that probably told you, you know what you're seeing on the TV is not real, right? You know that's not real. Some people didn't have that. A lot of people didn't have that. Where they were taught that, this is part of your reality because you see it or you think it's real.
Okay. And I mean, it's sad how dictated life can be. And did you so did you graduate from college? Did you get your degree?
Yep.
Okay. What did you do after you graduated? Did you utilize the degree or find anything in the field, or what were your thoughts after you finally did it? Did it feel like an accomplishment?
Yeah, it definitely feels like an accomplishment. I feel like so a lot of people don't know this when they're in college. Well, I would say they definitely know, they just don't care enough. But every major isn't lucrative, so when you major in something, be prepared to have a, a respectable career after, but nothing crazy. So a lot of people major, especially in like sociology or psychology, where you can make money in this, but you're probably gonna need to go to grad school, or you're probably gonna need to do other things because it's not social worker isn't the only thing you can do, but that's like the main thing they always tell people. It's like, oh, you majored in sociology, be a social worker.
What else is there to do?
Well, you could always teach what you taught or learned in school, as far as your goals. And realistically, any liberal arts degree could prepare you for any profession. Because when you get to the real world, it's like, most people don't know shit. Most people are really not that smart. And they're in the position that they're in because they know somebody else.
Yeah, gotta love that nepotism.
I mean, I can't hate it. You know, I mean, it's trash, but it is what it is because everybody would do it.
It's funny that's like this is illegal, but it's literally just kind of how things go.
No, if you had a business and you could put your family in a position to succeed, you would. But hopefully, you have family members that you trust and are legitimate or competent people. Some people don't have that,
Yeah,
so they put family members in a job when it's like, yeah, this person shouldn't be managing any money.
find out way too late.
But yeah,
So, did you find any jobs and did you become a social worker? Did you start teaching or anything like that?
no, I definitely did some teaching.
Were you thinking about going back and getting your teaching degree and everything?
I have, and I'm glad I didn't because I didn't want to go to school anymore. School is school is cool and it's fun, but I'm like, I don't want to keep doing this college thing. Like
Okay.
so I joined the Navy because one of my friends
How old were you?
when I joined, I don't know, like 20, 23, 24, I think.
Okay. That makes sense. That's about after a 4 year degree typically. If you go in at 18, 19.
Yeah, I think I would say I was 23 years old when I joined
What made you go Navy?
because one of my friends was in the Navy and he was like, hey man, you should join the Navy. It's easy. Or
Did he get a knife bonus?
nah, he's still in the Navy. He's all about it. And I'm happy for him.
Okay.
But
Has
me,
he made rank and stuff?
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a first class. I think he made first. I I I, I can't guarantee it, but
Okay. So so have he convinced you to go in? Did you what was your angle like? Did you have a hope for what type of job you would get, or did you know exactly what you would go for? Or
you don't know what you're getting yourself into until you're actually into it. So you always have there's plenty of people who always say, "Well, you knew what you were getting yourself into when you joined the Navy," and there's certain things you definitely know you're gonna have to deal with in life. But then there's other things where it's like, yeah, nobody could prepare you for that because they don't tell you everything. and some things you would never even, you really couldn't comprehend it anyway, right? So what my job was, no one could actually tell me unless they knew it personally. And then even then, they're like, "You're not gonna understand it because you're not even a part of it yet."
So you're kind of like you had your you did you guys call it an MOS? What do you guys call your jobs?
Rates.
Rates. Okay. So you were like in a very closed kind of rate, like it was a very tight knit type of thing. Like if you know. If you don't, then shut the fuck up.
Basically.
And what was that rate?
OS.
OS?
Yes. So in the Navy, the rate.
Operational specialist?
What'd you say?
Operational specialist?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I was like, I don't know if you already knew that or not, but yeah, that's a good.
I feel like you might have said that in the past to me, but like I was kind of guessing right there.
Yeah. So the Navy is broken up into rates like that, which I know it's in the other branches they kind of have it that way, but it's a little bit different because there's way more different jobs that you're gonna have to deal with in the Navy as opposed to like the Army.
What do you mean, like different how? Like the fact that you're just like not on land and you're on a ship?
Well, there's more. There's it's Yeah, it's obvious, but there's more things that have to be done on a daily routine. So there's so many people who can do it. So like the majority of the people in the army are doing what, right? You got like your infantry and your specialists and shit like that. Same thing for Marines, but the Marines don't do anything unless the Navy does it, right? They can't go anywhere unless the Navy brings them there.
Right.
And that's just like the one side of the Navy that's on the ship. There's other parts of the Navy that aren't even on ships where that's a whole different career and a whole different job.
Like just like a naval base type of shit.
Yeah, but like being a fucking MA, which the military, all branches have that.
What's an MA?
Uh, Basically like a military cop.
Oh, okay. My uncle was an MP for a long time.
Yeah, that's a good job. It's a good job. That's one of the rates I wish I had, or I wish I could have got. I mean, I could have got it, but I just didn't know. Like if somebody tells you to do something, you kind of have your mind made up. But when you look back on it, you're like, damn, I should have never listened to this person. Kind
Yeah. If you had gone MP, you think you would have stayed in?
Probably. But there's plenty of other jobs I say that about in the Navy too. Like if I had other things, or if I did other things, I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more as far as my work goes.
So regarding your work, what exactly can you tell us about it?
Like my what my job was,
Yeah, like what were you trained to do? What were you doing?
navigate, help the ship
Like
navigate.
like you were the sole navigator of the ship, or like you worked with the team?
Yeah, it's the sole navigator is somebody else, but we all still work as a team.
So you're kind of like he's sort of so say there's like a captain and then he has a navigator and that navigator has a team that helps the navigator navigate.
Yes.
Okay. So like how's that structure work? So like I know that most people I'm gonna assume most people I could be wrong for this, but we have this idea like there's the captain and then there's like a first mate type of thing going on and then it gets fuzzy and then there's pirates, you know what I mean? So like how how does that kind of like really work on ship? What's ship like how is it like higher ranking? Is there a lot of higher ranking? Is it really a small kind of class that you got like a small group you got to listen to, or what is that like?
So yeah, one thing you learn about being in the military, especially the Navy, is Most people have no idea what the hell actually happens on the Navy or in the Navy or on a ship. And the movies that they've made are all basically jokes and spoofs, and they're not an actual representation of actual daily life
So
because
Battleship was inaccurate.
very, very. Well, I wouldn't say it was very inaccurate, but it's one of those movies where it's like, oh, it's Hollywood. It's just cute. It's a funny little production, haha. Because it's entertainment for everybody. They're not going to
Right.
show you the daily life of a sailor because it's boring for the most part. You know, for the most part, your job is on a ship on a deployment is not entertainment. They can't sell that on television. So when they make TV shows like The Last Ship, I don't know if you've ever heard about it, or seen it before. They completely bullshit the whole concept, but
Really?
it's for entertainment purposes. So on the show, they have this episode where the XO, the CO, and the CMC are like going around the ship.
Now,
Uh,
real quick, EXO is
the executive officer. That's the actual second in command on a ship.
okay, and then the CNC is
The master chief, the command's master chief.
so like kind of like the third in command.
You could say that, but he's not an officer. But he's still very, very important to the ship. But he's
Okay,
still not an
you say
officer.
he's the Master Chief.
Yes.
Okay, so that's highest ranking you can get, right?
As far as the chief side goes, yeah.
Okay,
As far as the enlisted side goes, which is obviously the chief side.
okay, all right, word. I know those types of rankings tend to be rare, so usually they have significance.
Yeah, it makes you think of Halo, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I immediately asked you that question. I was like, "Oh, like Master Chief." He's the highest ranking enlisted you can get.
But the show really just it's for entertainment purposes, and they're having people who would never do this, right? They're not going to be the people going around the ship sweeping it with a rifle. That's definitely not what they're going to do, right? Because if it gets to that point, you're in a really bad place as a command. Like everybody else is dead that would have to do that.
Right.
The captain doesn't have to do much on the ship because he's the captain, so he's earned the right to just say somebody else take care of that. And if he ever has to take care of something, it's a bad day.
So being called to the captain's table is not like a thing he wants.
Not really. You for the most part, you don't have to talk to the captain unless it's a part of your job. Which is
Well, considering you're part of navigation, was it ever part of your job to interact with the captain or be around him?
sure. So that's another thing that I really never thought about until I got out of the Navy was how there's people who are on the ship who don't even know what part of the world we're in. They're just doing their job on the ship, just chilling, right? But then you got people like me who I got to go to navigation briefs and I'm talking to the captain and I'm talking to all these people. I'm talking to all the people who are really important on the ship. I talk to every day and I deal with them literally every single day. There's some people who don't talk to the chief engineer, even though they could be the engineering department and it's like they barely see Chang. Whereas I see Chang every single day because that's part of my job.
And now chain is chain of command, correct?
No, Chang, the chief engineer.
Oh, okay.
That's another thing. We with everything in the Navy, well, in military is an acronym. Everything, every single thing. Where you kind of when like not in the Navy anymore, it's kind of weird to talk to people because I want to basically abbreviate and shorten everything.
It becomes kind of like your own like language of sorts, just because
That,
of the need for efficiency, right?
yeah, everything has its own little language, and the Navy is no different. Its own jargon, I'd say.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. I knew that you were doing like honestly my understanding was like you were doing something with radar. Like that was kind of the most we ever talked about it. I
Mhm.
didn't realize you had interaction with like the captain on a regular like that, and like you were. It's interesting to think about the fact that you were on a ship full of people to where you were one of a small handful that actually knew where the fuck you were.
Yeah, part of my job.
on like a multi-billion-dollar vessel.
Yeah.
um, was there any like, if you can't say where, I understand, but are there any places that you were aware that you guys were at that was just like, oh fuck?
What do you mean, like as far as danger or?
Just any place of just interest where it's like it's interesting. We're over here. Like I don't know why
Yeah,
we're
there's.
coming this way.
I'm pretty sure they've already made like all this stuff has been known and established. So like we're going to into the Pacific and the South China Sea and the Middle East and all of that. But you know that was years ago. So it's not. I'm not giving you any like accurate pinpoint information on the ship's location. You know that.
Right, right, right. Now there was a particular incident in history of significance that you have mentioned, I believe, off live. I don't know if you can mention it here that I know you were part of. Can you talk about that?
Are you talking about the flight that went missing?
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not gonna talk about that.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair. Um, in that same kind of vein, were there other things? Not that I want you to talk about, but were there other similar things that you found yourself party to?
Yes, for sure.
Was that kind of like
Still,
part of what you found your regular missions to be? Like kind of things like that, some type of like investigation, patrolling type of maintenance, almost sort of look.
yeah. So my job on the ship, one of many jobs, I basically know everybody getting details, and it's somebody do all that. So that's what we do. So there really isn't too much that's secret that my job is not going to know or be a part of.
Okay, so you had to have at least some type of clearance then to get your job. Then I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Was it like a high clearance?
Yeah, I got a secret clearance. I don't have a top secret clearance, but I look at it and I think it it really doesn't matter. Like there's a difference, but most people who have a secret clearance can really get all the information that's top secret for the most part, and you can obviously go up in your clearance the longer you get in, or the more or whatever your job you're doing or whatever you have access to.
Is secret above classified?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you had at least minor X Files access if it was necessary. Because I imagine whatever clearance you have is also based off of what you need to know.
Yep. That's exactly how it goes.
So it's so relatively speaking, just because you have clearance that may include certain information, if you don't need to know that information, that doesn't mean you should have access.
Bingo. That's exactly it. So the way they teach it, exactly how they say it. If you need to have both of those things. If you don't have both of them, then you're not going to have the information or even the access to the information.
See, that's quite interesting because that's definitely a myth that's put out by entertainment is that if you have the clearance, then you can get access to information,
Nope, you gotta have a need to know.
which would lend, if there wasn't other things involved, belief to why the president would have, whoever it is would have unawares to other happenings in the United States, kind of like a la
Independence
Independence Day.
Day. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
uh,
talk about the scene where whoever's playing president didn't know about the aliens or some shit like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
it's I remember Dick Gregory was talking about that once, and he was saying how you know how much of a fool you got to be to think the president has any real say so over the military. Like he has an input. They consult with him, but a general who's been in the military for 37 years is not going to listen to somebody who just became president last week. They're like, hey, we respect that you got to this position, and if you ask us something, we're not going to just say fuck that guy, but we're gonna take care of this the way we know how to take care of it, the way we've been doing it for the last 30 years before you ever got here. So the high ranking military people, right? Having the Secretary of Defense and all those people, they talk to the president, but they're gonna do the things they want to do in the military, right? They're really running the show.
That's quite an interesting thing, especially to hear like on a first-hand point. Like, not that you're even like saying or exposing anything that's
Oh no,
not known.
like secret information.
Yeah, no, not at all. But it's still interesting because like you can come across a lot of people that are say that they now. Let me ask you this first: do you regret your experience in the military? Would you do it again if you were like put in the same spot, like everything was the same beforehand, and you were given the option of signing? Would you sign?
Yeah, I would. I would definitely probably do things differently, but I definitely don't regret joining.
What would you ideally do different?
So I probably would have got a different rate, but that's like, if I knowing what I know today, I would probably pick a different job to do because you don't know what you're getting into, and the whole experience in the military would have been different based off of that.
So now, saying that, most people who don't have it would be like, "Oh, I would love to have a top secret, a secret clearance, rather." Um,
Yeah,
Given that you had a job that had that, is it worth getting that type of clearance, or would you have preferred that type of clearance in a different type of job?
I mean, you don't know what you don't know, so I really wouldn't have cared. Like, there's people on the ship who, make eggs every day, and they're not really tripping off of global positioning systems and uh secret information being shared and who's tracking this and what satellite. They don't care about that kind of shit.
Very true.
I probably would have been happy being ignorant to those kinds of things. But at the same time, I appreciate the fact that I was there.
But not enough such that you wouldn't perhaps do a different lane if possible.
Oh no, I definitely would have chose a different job if I knew what I knew today.
If not military police, what would you have probably chosen or tried for? Like, what would have been your ideal?
Logistics specialists.
What would that entail?
People who keep track of all the things on board, right? So items and working with the LSs, they're cool people. I fuck with them. And these are the people who basically get supplies onto the ship or things that you want or need.
What's LS?
Logistics specialists.
Oh, okay. Okay, so like just whoever the person who's making sure, kind of like, because I've seen some cruise ship documentaries of like people who do that for cruise ships, and that shit, I can imagine is the same on a military vessel, but that shit is it needs to run like clockwork. It
Yeah,
cannot be having stalls. Like, you can't be just like be fucking up on your shipments and stuff. You need to make sure things are on time and moving correctly because there's a schedule that's bigger than you that needs to be kept. But it's like a different type of chaos. Kind of like you were saying, like it has nothing to do with GPSs and where you are and relatively speaking, the enemies. Because even at wartime, like your enemy is the hunger of the soldiers that you're feeding.
yeah, those people are probably much more organized on the Disney cruise. Definitely more organized on the Disney cruise.
For real.
Yes, I could almost guarantee it's more organized on a Disney cruise than it would be on the ship in the military getting underway.
Is there like a specific incident that you can like recall?
The entire 5 years of the Navy.
Shout out to the Navy cooks, I guess. What?
So things get, life gets crazy sometimes on the ship and things happen. But I could guarantee you, so a Disney cruise wouldn't have to worry about the same things and take the same precautions and have a weapon system on board. So obviously that'd be different for them. But the daily routine and the daily life on the ship shows you that most people are not really organized and are ready to, they're not thorough people. And it's okay because it's like, nobody died. That's how I always looked at it in the Navy. It's like, some shit could have happened this way or that way, but nobody died today, so we're good. As long as nobody dies, we're good. That's the most important thing.
That's definitely fair. So I got a couple of questions for you. So thinking of the same vein of food, what was the worst meal that you had in the military off of a ship? Whether
Uh,
you port somewhere or anything like that.
the worst meal?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's tough because the ship food doesn't really get bad until it's like, a part of deployment where you've been out for so long and you can't get anything shipped to you. But ship food is not that terrible.
It doesn't have to be ship food though. It could be somewhere that maybe you got stationed for somewhere or anything like that. It doesn't have to be from the military. Just like the worst meal you recall having in the military.
I don't know. It's hard to really say. We ate pretty good living in San Diego, and the food on the ship it's like you don't got to eat it. So people always complain about it, and it's funny. But I'm like, hey, look, man, what you gonna do? Not eat? You fucking starve. What's so in boot camp? What I had an RDC who said you don't eat food for I guess for taste. You eat it to sustain. You eat it to, yeah. Stop. You don't eat food for just because it tastes good. Stop being a bitch. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's why I eat Brussels sprouts when it was like at one point growing up, I was just like, I'm supposed to eat this shit.
Brussels sprouts
Like,
aren't bad though. I
I don't like them, but
nah, I mean
damn.
I don't like them. I'll eat like a couple of them. I'll get like 2 or 3. Like, yeah, that's straight.
So what about like an exceptional meal?
So
Usually that's a little bit better to tell apart when stuff is generally like, eh.
so the best food you get in the Navy is gonna be in A school or C school, one of those type of after boot camp. So the food in boot camp isn't bad either, right? That's you get pretty decent food in boot camp. It's just when you get to a ship, the CS are lazy and they don't give a fuck about making food sometimes. But some people do. Some people are like really passionate and really care about cooking food for people. So they're like, yeah, I want to make a good meal. But the way it works in the Navy is they have a card that they have to use to for like a certain month or whatever, and this is the only food items they'll have. So they can't really deviate from that. Sometimes they say, hey, we'll add this or we'll add that. It's like
Okay.
remember what you ate in high school, right?
You get that month calendar
Yeah, essentially, you know what you're going to be eating on certain days of the week.
where it'd be like, nah, I'm gonna bring lunch that day.
Especially when the ship is not underway and you're in port, we wouldn't even eat lunch on the ship. We would never do that, which is so crazy because you're wasting your money. But that's just so. So I remember I know a few people in the Navy who'd be like, "Nah, man, I'm eating on board because I'm not trying to spend any money." But he was like, "Stop being fucking weird and go out to eat with us."
I mean, my thought on it would be, even though I'd be spending money, I don't know how long the fuck we gonna be underway.
No, I'm talking about when we're in port. So it's like, whatever.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, if we're in port, I'm gonna go out and get some non-ship food because I don't know how long we gonna be underway, and I'm gonna have this limited selection. You know,
Exactly.
like it might cost me money, but I gotta think beyond the fact that it's costing me money. It's not like I'm at home and I'm always around this option. I could be like, what's the longest time you were out at sea?
I think for on deployment, I think we were on out to sea for 111 days straight.
Ooh,
I think that was our record.
damn.
And so you probably heard about this before, but in the Navy, when you're out to sea past a certain amount of time, you get a beer day.
A
And
beer day?
yeah, beer day.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so it's definitely a thing, my friend. And I think it's 45 days. So if you're out to sea for 45 days consecutively, you get one beer day. We did 111. So we had a beer day. I can't I thought I told you this story before, but it's a good one. So we're basically gonna have two beer days, right? But it's really hard to get beer shipped out to you in the middle of the ocean when it's like, well, this is a necessity for a ship. They don't need this. So our supply officer, he open purchased a bunch of beer from like two different countries. I want to say he comes from France and another European country, which was weird because we weren't anywhere near Europe. But he got beer for us. He open purchased it and had it for the whole command. We basically had like a party, and it was crazy because nobody's just drinking two beers, right? You know how this is gonna go. This is crazy.
That's
So
what
we was
a beer day meant. You're allowed a beer.
and we had two, so everybody was like, "Here, everybody gets two beers in the command." And, we was out there, drunk as shit, and they were like, "So you couldn't drink the beer if you had the next watch or something like that." I got off watch, I didn't have to worry about it. I felt bad for the people who was like, "Yeah, you can't drink. Sucks to suck."
Yeah, that does suck.
But that was a good day.
That's wild. I
Yeah, we
have
had like a
never heard of a like
little
that.
party
How long has that been a thing?
forever.
Really?
Yeah, like so you got to realize this is the Navy, so people drinking is like really, really commonplace, right? So when sailors were out to sea back, say 100 years ago, them getting drunk was pretty much a routine thing. They can't drink how they used to. I remember when I first got in, I would have first classes and shit tell me how the PRT was like a joke, physical readiness test. Like so, the actual physical fitness test, no one ever really took it seriously in the Navy. So once they would finish it, they would just get drunk. They were like, yeah, we used to have people with beers at the finish line, which you know how people be exaggerating shit. But
Yeah,
it wasn't that serious to people in the Navy at one point when it came to physical fitness.
that's wild.
But now it's a whole different standard and everything. So like people don't get you try not to get drunk as much, but it's still gonna happen, especially when you get a beer day.
Like that's crazy. Like so it's like shit, we're gonna be out here 45 days. Did you get beer?
Yeah, that's one of the first things that
That's wild. And what's crazy is like you weren't able to drink American beer, I'm guessing.
I really don't know the whole thing with that. I just know we had to open purchase it, which
Gotcha.
confuses me because I'm like, yeah, we could probably get some beer from real cheap. But Suppo wasn't playing. He was like, we're getting this beer for the people. We did 100 straight days.
That's wild. That's a long time to be out on the ocean. And I honestly have more questions about the ocean. Oh shit.
What?
Oh fuck. What the fuck? Am I still here? What happened? There we go. I'm sorry, my screen. Somehow I changed the screen here, so I have more questions in regards to the ocean and everything like that, and you in the military, and also some more thoughts that you have. But we're over here about to push 2 hours, so I'm thinking we'll just have to do another interview at some point.
Yep.
Uh, so it has been enjoyable talking with you, especially since we've been able to touch on some stuff I didn't know necessarily. So that's cool. I don't know if anybody's here watching. Nobody said anything, but somebody's gonna see this. Somebody's gonna enjoy it, retrospect or otherwise. But thank you for watching. Thank you for joining here with me, Dre. And next time we'll have to get more into some of your experiences and some more of your thoughts on things.
For sure. It was a pleasure.
All right. Thank you, Junkers. Thank you, Dre. Y'all have a good night.